Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
This story is from a Washington, D.C. ticket agent. And it talks about Senator John Kerry's aide, a young lady by the name of Lindsay Ross. Well, it appears that Lindsay called to inquire about a trip package to Hawaii. After going over all the cost information, she asked, would it be cheaper to fly to California and then take the train to Hawaii? Oh, boy. And you wonder how they get their jobs. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, call in. Good morning. Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and it's a treat to be with you on this first Monday in April. Of course, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. Now, let's go to the phone line and hear our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Are you the man?
I am. I figured I'd do the pledge.
All right, go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and right now let's go to the weather forecast brought to you by Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, offering qualified rebates on Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. All you have to do is call them, 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. And now, here's the weather.
Welcome to another fine spring Monday here at Zeb at the Ranch, and here's what we're looking at as far as weather is concerned. It is going to be windy today, so ladies, put your hair up in a hat. Guys, your hat might blow off, so just make sure you keep track of it. Winds out of the west, 15 to 25 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies for today, high of 50. Tonight we are looking at a low of 26. For tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny skies, high of 53 with an overnight low of 31. And as we make our way to Wednesday, looks like partly cloudy skies, high of 65. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, Gina, thank you very much, and good morning, everybody, as we get ready to go into the program full swing. Here's what we've got cooking for today. At 8:31, we're going to give away our Sophie's cookies. Be listening for the question. And then at about 10 minutes to 9 this morning, we're going to have a special tribute to a very special person. And then at 9:06 this morning, 9:15, I should say, we're going to have Vicky's Country Garden come back on the air and talk about gardening. It's that time again. We've got the Pacific Legal Foundation, Tony Francois, coming on, Steve Malloy with the Energy and Environmental Legal Institute, and Matt Walsh from The Blaze is going to be talking about whether conservative values are gone. We're going to talk about that later on this morning. Right now, I want to remind you about Darrow's Cleaners, and they're located at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. My goodness sakes. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Cindy. Hello, everybody. And, you know, if you haven't taken your clothes in there, you are missing having your clothes come back to you looking brand spanking new. Oh, they do a fantastic job. I just went down the other day and picked up hanger after hanger after hanger after hanger order loads of shirts and jeans and everything else, I'll tell you what, they're the best. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see my friends today. By the way, too, want to remind everybody about our friend Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. Look outside, blue sky, my goodness. You better be getting a hold of him for your landscaping ideas, especially after this winter, because a lot of you need to figure out maybe how to change the landscaping scope of things and keep the water out of your basements and everything. Scott has some great ideas for you. And now's the time to make sure that all your fruit trees are trimmed, and also check on your sprinkler systems. And if you want a new sprinkler system put in, now's the time to do it. Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 438-2485. You get a hold of Scott Gano today. Oh, and by the way, too, before we get things rolling here this morning, I want to thank everybody over at Ag Express. They are looking for drivers, and they're looking for people that want to go full-time or part-time. They're looking for retired people, too. So, by golly, if you want some extra cash, want to work around your schedule, they'll help you. And new and maintained equipment, and they've got great vacation plans and a super benefit program. All you have to do is call Dale and Paul at 438-8886 or Alan in Twin Falls 731-2495 or Russ in Burley at 431-7175. Ag Express is looking for drivers. They're looking for you. Give them a call today. April already, and still after January, February, and March, the Democrats can't get the fact that Donald Trump won the election. They can't get the fact that Donald Trump is the President of the United States. And they are absolutely bent on hurting the entire country, and they are, by absolutely acting like spoiled brats. You know, one of the things in my job, I try to listen, excuse me, I got that frog in my throat, and I tried some different cough lozenges and everything. No, they didn't work. Some tasted really, I won't even tell you how they tasted, and others, well, they were too sweet. Anyway, after listening to Democratic Chairman Tom Perez and his tirade, how many of you out in the audience heard that? It was just repulsive with the language that had to be beeped out of there and his just disgusting verbiage that he used. And they put this guy in charge? He spoke at a rally this past weekend. It was despicable. What kind of lowlifes are running the Democratic Party? Well, I think it's fairly obvious. And then we have Nancy Pelosi. Now, I know a lot of the feminists in the audience are going to be offended when I say this, but it's an absolute truism that Nancy Pelosi was on TV on Friday night. Now, I watched this, and it became apparent during the course of the conversation with Nancy Pelosi that she has a unique way of raising one eyebrow and the other one goes the other way. I'm not kidding you. She has the high-rise eyebrows. Now, one looks like a McDonald's Golden Arches, and the other shot off in one direction like the Snake River. And it was very disconcerting to me to watch Nancy Pelosi's eyebrows. She was trying to answer a question, and she kept raising one eye higher, and then there's the arch, and then the other one kind of off to the side. And watch her the next time on television. You'll call me and agree with me. She looked like, kind of like Bozo the Clown with his makeup on. I couldn't believe it. No, but wait a minute. There is some good news to report this morning. Another Democrat has left the fold. Yeah, another Democrat has left the Democratic Party tunnel vision thinking. And now 3 Democrats have said, no, we're going to vote for Gorsuch for the Supreme Court. He's a good man. He's a fair man. We want him in office, and so we're going to support him. And little by little, I think that the Democrats are losing, hopefully, any support against a very good man for the Supreme Court. So that kind of brings you up to speed as to what the Democrats did over the weekend. Holy smokes. Calls are welcome, and I'll take that call in a minute. Caller, don't go away. I promise I'll be right there. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They open the doors at 7:30 in the morning and stay open till 5, Monday through Friday. For all your heating, your cooling, your electrical needs, oh, these people are good. You better stop in and see them today. And that's, of course, Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459, where they always provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, I'm a-coming. Stand by. Don't forget, too, Denny's Restaurant. My golly, I got to tell you about America's Diner. If you're hungry, they have the cure. Oh, boy. Food galore, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And by the way, I always brag on the breakfast, but I also want to tell you about their delicious burgers. Oh, my goodness sakes, burgers like bacon and cheese avocado double burger and the single burgers. Oh, you got to get in there to Denny's and just look at that great menu. America's Diner at 611 Overland in Burley and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Caller, thank you for your patience. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
You know, Chuck Schumer, one of the worst people in the world as far as I'm concerned, he makes Harry Reid look like a saint.
No. Don't go there, my friend. There is no way anybody could make Harry Reid look like a saint.
Well, this guy's on his way. But anyway, Obama had his opportunity. He appointed 2 people to the Supreme Court. And he was trying for number 3 with that Merrill, whatever his name is. And he must have had some of the Republican support there because he didn't use the nuclear thing that they talked about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Wait a minute, just a second. I was just going to interrupt you a second. Garlic Marin, I forgot his name too. Not garlic. I'll think of it here in a minute. My goodness sakes, my mind just... just went totally blank there. I apologize for that. But, you know, if they use that nuclear option, and I think the Democrats would be woe upon them if they allowed that to happen, because it could happen again. Do you realize that there's going to be very possibly, Keith, another opening on the Supreme Court, maybe by June? And I tell you what, the Democrats better be real careful about how much they try to play Matt Dillon in Dodge City, because it might backfire on them.
You're absolutely right. And I follow this fairly close because our nation, this is really more important than the presidency itself, you know, the Supreme Court, because they are the law of the land. And if we can't trust them, why are we going to try?
Well, I'm very concerned about what's going on in this country with a stalemate from the Democrats not putting forth any effort to make America a great country. They're doing everything they can to put their foot in the door to stop it. And this poor baby attitude that they've got, they can't acknowledge the election. They won't acknowledge Trump. They won't acknowledge the fact that they got beat in an electoral college that's been around since our forefathers started this great country, and I'm fed up with their Demobrat attitude.
You know, I like to watch this Meet the Press because I like to know what our enemy is doing, and I mean enemy. Chuck Todd is despicable, I guess is about the only word you can describe for him, because he is so biased. You can't get a straight answer from him. no matter how hard.
Yeah, that's really true. I agree with you that the biased attitude in the media right now is, I've never seen it like it is today. And, oh, by the way, I want to just report to you that now, I don't know if you heard this or not, but it's reported this past weekend by Adam Housley, a journalist for Fox News, and he's a very well-respected journalist, that a very high, well-known official in the Obama administration okayed the spying and surveillance on the Trump team during the campaign last year. Boy, I tell you what, if that name comes out, Keith, heads are going to be on the rolling pin.
You know, just to change it just a little bit, Greta Van Susteren was also on Meet the Press, and she's working for MSNBC now.
Yeah.
And I always thought she was somewhat conservative, but I'm afraid she's gone down the wrong path.
Greta's looking for a paycheck. Keith, I got to run. Thank you very much. Appreciate your call. Thank you. God bless you.
Day.
I will, my friend. Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of people looking for a paycheck, and it's funny how their values change when they leave one source and go to another. Berry Equipment and Rental. Sales, service, and parts. You know, I've said this, and I mean this. They have all the equipment that you need to get the job done right. And they've got 3 locations. Easy to find, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Last Thursday on the program, we had Juan from the Burley location, and he was telling me all about the Bobcat excavators. Oh, have they got a bunch of them. New and used, ready for you. And also the Walker mowers. You can mow like a pro, and they've got 0% interest for 48 months on the Walker mowers. You better stop in and see them today. Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Berry Equipment and Rental. Also, our thanks go out to some dear, dear friends for being on our program for quite some time. And I mean that, Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. The number, 678-1191. Why is it important for you to remember that number? Well, I want you to call and make an appointment today. They can help you get back to feeling like you. Come on, look at the bright side. And they've got the exercises and the hydrotherapy pool. Oh, my, don't put it off. Call them today. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation in Burley, 678-1191. Tonight's the big game. I know a lot of you say, oh, big deal. No, it is a big deal. And it is the championship for the NCAA basketball. Long season. The championship tonight against little bitty Gonzaga versus North Carolina. Hey, Wheels, are you right by your microphone like you should be?
I am.
Go get Gina real fast if she can come in there. I want to talk to her real quick about Gonzaga, okay?
Okay, give me 1 minute.
All right, 1 minute. So Gonzaga takes on North Carolina tonight, and the odds makers are saying that it's going to be North Carolina by a slim margin. Well, I tell you what, Gonzaga's got probably the best big man, and this guy is huge, well over 300 pounds, Karnowski, and my goodness, moving him is like trying to push a home off its foundation, and he's really, really good, and North Carolina's got some excellent big men. This is going to be a battle of the bigs tonight, down under, and who does or who doesn't get into foul trouble. I'm going to make a prediction that Gonzaga is going to win by 3 and take their first trip to the Final Four, their first trip to the championship, and their first NCAA championship. Gonzaga. And we'll see. Gina used to... Well, get on the microphone for a minute.
It's Gonzaga.
I said Gonzaga.
You said Gonzaga.
Well, leave me alone.
Anyway, yes.
You're just picky because you're a former alumni.
Yes. And I grew up there, actually.
I know you did. And I just wanted to hear, you must be very, very proud of the fact that Gonzaga is going to be in the championship game tonight.
Bulldogs, yes, first time. Of course, you know, they've made it to the Sweet 16 before. And
they never made it past the Sweet 16, though.
They made it 2, but not past. So this is the first time that they've actually gone on to the Elite Eight, the Final Four, and now inside the championship game. And I wasn't able to watch the game, but I do know that they bested South Carolina by 4 points. Final score 77-73. I do believe.
Yeah, and it was a fantastic game. And I just said a moment ago while you were hurrying and bustling into the studio that it's going to be a battle of the bigs. The big men in the middle are going to decide that game tonight.
Yes. Now, of course, did you watch the Oregon-North Carolina game?
I did, and I felt really bad. Oregon, they had more opportunities to win that game than most teams have. And it really was too bad they fell short.
Yeah, by a point.
Yep.
By 1 point. I see. In my bracket, I had picked Gonzaga and Oregon to go head-to-head in the championship round. I was 50% right.
I won't even tell you how my bracket looked, because, boy, I had that thing look like Swiss cheese after the second day.
You know, honestly, my first round bracket didn't do that well, but once I got into the second round, I nailed it. Well, we're doing a bracket contest right now, and I'm thinking my bracket's number 3 out of 156.
Well, I will tell you this much, that I'm pulling for your Gonzaga Bulldogs. Yes, I am. I really want them to win. I love that big guy in the middle, Karnofsky. I said just a moment ago, he's like trying to push a house off a foundation. And he is a big, strong dude. But if he gets in foul trouble, and Collins, their other big man, gets in foul trouble, woo, baby, North Carolina's going to have a runaway.
Well, let's just hope that doesn't happen.
Okay. It's going to be a good game, and I hope if they win, you will come back on the air tomorrow briefly and just go, use your cheerleader uniform and just yell zags and jump up and down and do cartwheels across the floor, don't bump into wheels and tip them out of the chair. Anyway, all that kind of stuff.
I will. Win or lose, I'll come back on the air tomorrow and we'll talk some hoops.
All right. Thanks, Gina.
Hey, thanks, Deb.
All right, have a good day. Thank you. Oh, my goodness sakes, we got to pay some bills here. And, of course, let's see. Where are my bills that I have to pay? Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup. And they're located right across from the Minidoka Hospital emergency room, and they are waiting for you to call for a hearing screening appointment. That's right. All you have to do is call 312-0957. 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And if you're having a hearing problem, she can kind of study the problem and with this hearing screening find out what it is and help you. That's the key. Please give them a call today. 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They are waiting for your call. I am going to give away a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. And by the way, if you are going to have some little delicious baskets made up for Easter with different things, you better call Sophie's Chatterbox so they can work on those right now. Ooh, what a bakery. Oh, wow. What a restaurant at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Here is the question. First-time winners only. Don't you cheat. Name 2 famous actors that have played the legendary Davy Crockett. Name 2 famous actors that have played the legendary Davy Crockett. Call me at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Name 2 famous actors that have played the legendary Davy Crockett. And you might be the winner of those delicious cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox. Quickly call me. Name 2 famous actors real fast that played Davy Crockett. By the way, while I'm waiting, I want to remind everybody, hello, Jeff and his crew over at Magic Valley Irrigation. My goodness, they know water, they know irrigation, and they can help you. They're located at 44 East, 500 South of Burley, and the number to call is 678-3101 or 431-3101. And they can help you, too, with all the U-bends and the Healy arc welding, the pumps, the manufacturing of wheel line elbows, and so much more. They're experts at what they do, and they're proud proud of it. Magic Valley Irrigation. Call them at 678-3101. Do we have a caller?
Oh, no, sir, not yet.
Oh, not yet? Well, come on, everybody, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I thought this would be the easiest question that we have asked in a long, long time. Name two famous actors that have played the legendary Davy Crockett. One, of course, you know, made it in the movies, and another was very famous playing it, I'm giving some hints now, in a TV series. So, come on, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got a picture of my mind's eye of everybody running to their computers and Googling now, who played that? Come on, I got to win those cookies. Hurry up and give me a call, 436-2244. 1-866-927-4587. While I'm hopefully going to get a call on that, my goodness sakes, it's an easy question. I want to remind you about Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport, and they sponsor Dr. History on Tuesdays at 10:06. Oh, they've got super deals on luxury vinyl planking. You better check this out. Beautiful luxury vinyl planking. And, of course, they've got the overhead doors, and they've got the interior doors, and they can help send over a contractor to do the installation work. They're good, really good. Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, sponsoring Dr. History on Tuesdays. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. This is Doris Haynes from Oakley.
Okay.
And I just came in from feeding the chickens, and I could use a cookie.
Well, then you got to give me the answer.
Beth Parker and Clint Walker.
No.
Oh, pooh.
Oh, back to the chickens. I know it's going to be a bad day, but no, that is not correct. Clint Walker, by the way, Doris. Hang on just a second, Doris. Do you know what TV series Clint Walker starred in for years in the 60s? Do you remember the name of it?
Oh, yes, I'm sure it's Cheyenne.
It was Cheyenne, and he did not play John Wayne.
No.
Okay. God bless you. Thanks. Go back to the chickens. They're still hungry.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
It's Beth Parker and John Wayne.
Who is this?
Randy Quanstrom.
How do you spell your last name, Randy?
Quanstrom.
Where are you from?
Burley.
Well, do you like cookies?
You betcha.
Well, you gave that a boy. You call Sophie's and tell them when you're going to be over to get your cookies, because it was Fess Parker and John Wayne. Thank you, Randy. We appreciate you. Thank you much.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, Fess Parker, by the way, started really his movie career and his screen career. He had done some parts in some movies and some westerns and everything. And then also the Disney Corporation got a hold of Fess Parker, and they turned him into the legendary Davy Crockett. And he teamed up with Buddy Ebsen, and that was his partner. And then, of course, in the movies, nobody else in the movies played the part of Davy Crockett like John Wayne. Anyway, John Wayne and Fess Parker. Randy Quanstrom, you are the winner, and congratulations. Appreciate that. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Can I have a moment to just dry a tear in the side of my one eye? Yeah, the baseball season opened last night. I don't know if I can make it through this. I'm sobbing. Baseball season opened last night, and my Cubs went to St. Louis and lost. They lost the opener. They lost 4-3 to them. I hate the Cardinals. Never have liked the St. Louis Cardinals, and they lost to them at St. Louis last night. So, anyway, the baseball season, the beginning of it anyway, is all wrecked. But the main part of the bulk of the season starts today. So Major League Baseball underway. Come on, Cubbies, turn it around. By the way, we'll welcome some more calls, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, my goodness sakes, that Southern Idaho Women's Expo is coming up on April 13th. Do not forget that. And it's sponsored by the Mini-Cassia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, and Idaho Housing and Finance. Coming up on the 13th at the Best Western Burley Inn, and the doors open at 9 o'clock in the morning. Now, tickets in advance are $20, at the door $30, so save yourself $10 and go to the chamber office, get your tickets now. And if you're a business that wants to have a booth there, you better call them at 679-4793. Southern Idaho Women's Expo, April 13th. Got it. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear from you, so give us a call. By the way, real quick, before I get into a story that's got me just infuriated, and I can't wait, more words are being taken away from us. Legitimate, quality words. Hang on just a second. I'll tell you about that. The 45th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale is going to be this Wednesday, starting up in Salmon, Idaho, and going all the way through Saturday. Holy buckets. We're going to have Fred Snook on the program again tomorrow, and it's up at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon. And it starts on Wednesday with the Ty Evans Mulemanship Clinic. And then, of course, on Thursday, they're going to have all kinds of events to welcome people to Salmon. Oh, wow, are they going to have fun. Friday night at 6 p.m., the big mule sale, and then on Saturday at 1 p.m., the big horse sale, along with so many other activities. Don't miss it. It's a happening at the 45th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale in Salmon at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds. Woo, they do have fun up there. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. A young lady at Northern Arizona University. Her name was Caitlin Jeffers, and I saw this young lady on television. She had her report that she had written knocked down in points because she did nothing more than use the word mankind. I am not exaggerating. This young lady at Northern Arizona University had her term paper trashed and scored much lower by feminine rights professor because she used the word mankind in the paper. The professor said the word mankind was inappropriate gender language. Dr. Ann Scott is the person that said it was inappropriate. She should be replaced. She should be fired. She should be censored. She should have all kinds of things happen against her. Mankind in the dictionary refers to all humans and the human race in general. But now we're being told that can't even be used. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. This is about Social Security. We keep hearing about the insolvency of Social Security. It's gone broke. Why are we bringing all these freeloaders into this country, putting them on Social Security, and some of them will never have to go back to work for the rest of their lives? What's going on?
Well, I was talking about an entirely different subject a moment ago, Tony, but I will relate to this. I don't like to shift subjects like that, but I will tell you this, that the way that the politicos have delved into Social Security, your money, our money, everybody's money, that we work so hard to stick into a ridiculous program, I'm heartily offended that a lot of that money has come out to help the refugees. A lot of that money has come out to create welfare programs for the illegals. And this whole country, you and I and everybody else, should be outraged because of the dipping into the till of politicians trying to help others than help our citizens.
Well, it's been a couple of years since Social Security got a raise. So that's telling us something.
I agree, but it's not going to get better in the any time in the near future. I think it's going to take about a year or so if Trump and his administration can put forth some of the policies that they want to adhere to. I think it'll be better. But right now, I'm very concerned about what's going on. I'm as mad about it as you are.
Well, let's hope our boy can get something done about this.
All right, Tony. Have another cup.
I didn't mean to jump in.
No, that's all right.
Picked up the phone there.
That's all right.
Ready to mow my lawn.
You're out mowing your lawn. I did mine this weekend. God bless you, man, and have a great day. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it. Calls, welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What do you think about little by little words being taken out of our society? Or not necessarily taken out, but we have those with their noses so far up in the air that if it rains, they're going to drown because they think they are the elitists and they can tell us what we can say and what we can't say. And this professor absolutely, I think, ran off the rails when she said, well, you can't use the word mankind because it's inappropriate gender language. How many politicians have you heard with speeches, think carefully about this, where they say for all of mankind? Or how many times have you heard a sermon at your church, your leader of your church, your pastor, whatever, clergy saying for all of mankind? I mean, that's a word I've used millions of times. But now this one professor at Northern Arizona University says that, no, we're not going to use mankind. She should have put in there instead humanity, not mankind. What are your thoughts on this with the various words that are being subject to, no, you can't say that anymore, you might offend somebody. I, for one, I promise you, I am not going to be politically correct, and I'm going to use words that are for all of mankind. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
I personally think everybody that wants to be a professor needs to take an IQ test.
Yeah, but then we wouldn't have any professors.
But we wouldn't have the problem we've got nowadays. I never did go to college, but I'm still attending a school called School of Hard Knocks.
I absolutely agree with you. And that various thud in the background was part of my trash can tipping over. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Oh, dear. Anyway, go ahead.
Belongs in the trash can.
Well, I had a pen that ran out of ink, and I flipped it over my shoulder, and I forgot that it was going to make a lot of noise. Anyhow, you're right. I mean, these guys and gals that are so-called professors, can you imagine? I mean, when I was in college, we didn't have this kind of problem. Of course, that's when we still circled the wagons at night because of Indian attacks. But, I mean, holy smokes, this is going nuts.
Well, they're the ones that keep telling us when we say things that words have meanings. Words have meaning.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, words do have meaning. And the door swings both ways.
You want to hear? Let me read what this very elitist professor said. You're going to get a kick out of some of this. Listen to the language that was used. And this is a quote from this professor. I would be negligent as a professor who is running a class about the human condition and the assumptions we make about being human if I did not also raise this issue of gendered language and ask my students to respect the need for gender-neutral language. The words we use matter very much, or else teachers would not be making an issue of this at all. And, of course, we need to make better recommendations for gender-neutral language at the national level. Blah, 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 blah.
That's all I hear is like that school teacher on Charlie Brown cartoons.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is just, he thinks he is the best, the elitist, the smartest. And he's just...
It's a woman, Doug.
Push it off on everybody else.
It's a woman, Doug. It's a female feminist that absolutely thinks the word mankind should never be used.
Okay. I'm sorry about calling her a him.
Well, you know, there's quite a few There's quite a few things I could say right there, but I don't know if I will or not.
As they say, you never know nowadays.
Amen. But, really think of the words that, and I'm trying to think of some of the various phrases and words that they don't want you to use now because you might offend someone. Doug, I can't live that way. I'm not going to worry about what comes out of my mouth as long as it's not filthy and as long as it has a good meaning and connotation. I'm not going to worry about what the left wants me to say or not to say.
Me either. My wife got me a shirt, and I think every college student that is a conservative ought to wear that shirt, and it says, "My rights do not end where your feelings begin."
Oh, yeah, poor baby they are. Oh, my goodness, we hurt their feelings. Doesn't that just make you want to go buy them a cup of coffee and a donut? No, not really.
A box of crayon.
Yeah, there you go. I got to run, Doug. Appreciate it. I got another call coming in. Caller, I'll be there in a minute. You're going to have to hang on just a second. I'm running late. Want to remind everybody about Golden Valley Warehouse, 1000 South, 468 West of Burley. Hello, Scott and the crew over there. Family business that has always provided the highest quality seed for over 30 years. They are known for their top quality seed, and believe me, locally owned and operated, and they want to serve you during this planting season. Get a hold of them. Golden Valley Warehouse, 1000 South, 468 West of Burley. Number to call, 678-7324. Really good people. Hey, I got to run to do the weather. Caller, I promise I'm going to be there in 60 seconds. Weather brought to you by, of course, the Urgent Cares. Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland and Burley. Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin. And Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. Minor emergencies. Major care. You better believe it, they're open 7 days a week, and they can help you and your family. So please remember the Urgent Cares. Here's Gina with the weather.
Welcome to another fine spring Monday here at Zeb at the Ranch, and here's what we're looking at as far as weather is concerned. It is going to be windy today, so ladies, put your hair up in a hat. Guys, your hat might blow off, so just make sure you keep track of it. Winds out of the west, 15 to 25 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies for today, high of 50. Tonight we are looking at a low of 26. For tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny skies, high of 53 with an overnight low of 31. And as we make our way to Wednesday, looks like partly cloudy skies, high of 65. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And she's a Gonzaga fan, and rightfully so. Good morning, and thank you. The Urgent Cares, Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland and Burley. Twin Falls Urgent Care in Twin, and Jerome Urgent Care in Jerome. Yep, it's true. Minor emergencies, major care. Caller, quickly. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. Well, they've been liberal professors. They're the only ones that get tenure. A conservative can't get tenure, but you talk about changing words and meanings and so forth, and it's only the politically correct. But, when I started my first job, they used to have a personnel department, and now you're a human resource.
Yeah.
So you become from a person to becoming a commodity like so many cattle or so many potatoes in work. So, they keep changing these words around to fit the liberal agenda. But you probably got the email I sent you over the weekend about the Democrats, some of their staff and so forth, that they just can't understand. Bernie Sanders, he wanted beachfront property, I guess, on his vacation. Then he was going to Orlando, and he truthfully said to the agent that, on a map, Florida's a very thin state, so certainly from Orlando there should be some beachfront views there. I mean, this is the kind of mentality that we have. Another one was where the gal was getting on a plane, and she said, "I want an aisle seat," to the agent because I don't want to be near the window where the air would disturb my hair.
You're taking away all my leads.
This is the kind of mentality we have out there.
I agree. Hey, Adrian, I've got a very special person I need to pay tribute to right now, and everything you said is 100% correct, but thank you for your call this morning, and I've got to get this in right now. I think you'll understand why in just a second. All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you. There is a man that I want to pay tribute to really, really quick on the program this morning. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a quick commercial so that if he's listening, he can really tune in and turn up the sound. And I'll be right back, so stay tuned. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. Don't forget 924 Christian Way in Rupert. They are the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. Oh, and they care. They really care. And they invite the public to come and visit their facility anytime for tours and just, quite frankly, to check them out. They welcome that. And the number to call, 436-3200. Please remember Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. And they always have so many activities for all the residents, and they've got a beautiful patio in their backyard for barbecues. They make Autumn Haven the best place. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, during the course of this program over the years, I've had many, many individuals that have been on my program, and they've become really, really close friends of my wife and myself. And this individual is up in Pocatello at the Idaho State Veterans Home, and he is one of my dearest friends, Russell Smith. I know he is listening right now on the computer, zebbell.com, and Russell is going to next month have a birthday. I believe he's going to be 93 years young, and we absolutely salute this man. Not only is he a super gentleman and a super friend of this program, used to attend every of the Zeb Bell lunch bunches at, of course, Denny's America's Diner, but also a 3-time Purple Heart recipient, fighting for this great country. And here's what I'd like you folks to do. I want you to write this address down, and if you don't get it, I'll be able to be called on my cell phone after the program, and I'll give it to you. But send Russell Smith a birthday card. Let's just flood that room with all kinds of birthday cards and well wishes. His birthday's coming up on May 6th next month. Send it to Russell Smith at the Idaho State Veterans Home, 1957 Alvin Ricken Drive in Pocatello, room 70, by the way, room 70 in Pocatello, 83201. And it's just an honor to know this man, and it's an honor to call him a friend. Russell Smith, God bless you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Wheels, can you boost the feed coming to me just a touch? It's just really spongy or something this morning, if you would, please. And while I'm waiting for your calls to come in, I want to remind you, too, Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. All you have to do is just give them a call. They can save you money. 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. You call them today. Oh, my goodness sakes. Let's see what else have I got in the storyline real quick. Well, I have another call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
One more thing I was wanting to touch on was leader of the DNC and his big speech.
Did you hear that?
I did, and it brings to mind a teacher in high school. This one kid, he was profanity was his favorite language.
Uh-huh.
And the teacher brought up profanity is a sign of a weak vocabulary.
Well, what this Tom Perez did at the rally the other night, I listened to that, and they had to bleep a lot of the language out of there so that it could be on broadcast for repeat. If that's the kind of leadership that the Democrats want as a chairman, it just shows you what an armpit, and I'm going to use that word, what an armpit of an association the Democrats are in.
Exactly. They're in a tailspin. And the problem they're in a tailspin is because they don't realize that their policies are the problem.
Yeah.
They're not man enough to admit they're wrong.
But it was so low classed. I mean, whether right or wrong, it was so low class. Can't somebody on the left show some integrity, and can't they show some class? And my answer to that would be no.
Not yet. You know, if most of the Democrats were like Joe Manchin,
yeah,
I mean, he is for America. Yes, he's a Democrat, but he's for America first.
You know, and I agree with what you just said. I really do. But you know something, Doug? Look at your wristwatch and you'll say, oh, Zeb, you're running over. And yes, I am. I got to run. Thanks. Okay.
Hey, everybody, let's take care of our senior centers, too.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. Yeah. Right now, I want to remind everybody about the great big spring tire sale that's going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my. All the tires that are on sale for your kind of driving. You know, they've got like the Mastercraft LTR, SDR, all-season performance mud and snow tire for your pickups and SUVs on sale. You better check that out, along with the best in brake service. The best in brake service. Front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. But you know, it takes people to make sure that any business flourishes, and they have the best of people serving you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I got to take a little break here for about 7 minutes and let CBS News get in here, and then we'll come back, and at 9:15 in the next hour, we're going to start our spring Vicky's Country Garden. I'm excited. Don't go away. Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch. I'll see you back here in a couple of minutes. Oh my, here we go. Hour number 2 on April 3rd. Can you believe this is already April 3rd? You know, I gotta ask you folks, did you have some fun on Saturday, April Fool's Day? It's the first year ever in my life that I didn't get an April Fool pulled on anybody, especially my wife. I never even thought about it. I missed it. It's kind of been a national holiday for me, and I missed it. Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, this is Zeb Bell, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, they've got a big spring tire sale going on. And right now, also, some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Way Services.
You know, it's really true, always at your disposal, and I tell you what, whether you need a dumpster, they've got them in various sizes, or you need to get on the route service so they can pick up your garbage weekly, or maybe you need a porta-potty for a party. Potties for porties, or parties for potties, and potties for parties, whatever. Anyway, I'll tell you what, if you're having a wedding or a class or family reunion or a special birthday or outdoor concert event, don't forget the very best, the very cleanest, the very nicest of porta potties from Western Waste Services. Always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969 and get a potty for your party. Okay, there you go. Nice people. Always at your disposal. And, by the way, too, I want to remind you about some really, really good people over at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Heyburn. Hello, Dr. Bill. Hello, Dr. Liz. Hello, everybody over at Ark Animal Hospital. They are a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. Yep. They love them all. And you are going to really appreciate the way they take care of your animals and keep them healthy. That's the name of the game. They have warm hearts for cold noses, so be sure and get a hold of them today. Write the number down and give them a call, 678-1177, 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital, serving you. And real quick, there is going to be a huge That means really big horse sale and mule sale going on this week up at Salmon, Idaho. It's the 45th annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale, and it's going to be at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon. Oh my goodness, this Wednesday it starts. This Wednesday with the Ty Evans Mulemanship Clinic. And then on Thursday, of course, they're going to have the Idaho State Championship Wolf Howling Contest and a great big parade. All kinds of fun. Friday, of course, you're going to see at 6 p.m. the annual Salmon Select Mule Sale. And then on Saturday, next Saturday, the 8th at 1 p.m., the big Salmon Select Horse Sale. All of this going on at Salmon, Idaho at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds, 45th annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale. Okay, now let's see what... Oh, by the way, I was going to ask you folks last hour, and we've talked about this in the past. What do you think about when you go to a nice restaurant and you're sitting there with your bride and perhaps some other close friends, and you're sharing in maybe a nice glass of wine before your meal, and the atmosphere is just really nice, and then it is totally destroyed because a family has brought in little children that absolutely are allowed to run around the restaurant. And one of them is carrying an iPad that is turned on full blast, and they're running from table to table. Oh, and then one of the little ones goes over by your table to show you the iPad and sneezes on your salad. Well, this North Carolina restaurant has had enough, and they said no more. Anyone that brings in children 5 and under, that's not allowed. And the ones that you do bring in there, keep them in control and not allowed to run around the facility. I say that's good for also restaurants, and it's also very good for in church. There is nothing more disruptive and nothing more disrespectful than letting the little cretins go all over, yelling and screaming and having a great time, and totally destroying the atmosphere for everyone else. What are your thoughts? I'm glad that this restaurant put a kibosh, if you will, on 5 and under, and not having the iPads and not having the sound effects and everything, and letting them go from table to table in a higher class restaurant and then sneezing on another table with their salads. Come on. Parents, where are you? Where is the parental responsibility? Does anybody have a story like that? I've got about 3 or 4 that have happened to Deanne and I personally, and I won't allow that. I mean, parents, you better get a hold of your kids, or the management better, or I will take them back to the table and sit them in the seat with you, Dad, and we'll have quite a conversation. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, don't forget Southern Idaho Women's Expo coming up, and it's going to be on April 13th at the Burley Best Western Inn, and it's sponsored by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, and Idaho Housing and Finance. Starts at 9 o'clock on the 13th, and tickets in advance are $20, and at the door $30, so get your tickets now and save money over at the Chamber office. And if you want a booth space to represent your business there, call them at 679-4793. Southern Idaho Women's Expo on April 13th. Don't you miss it. Going to be a really, really good event. We're in just a few moments. We're going to start a brand new season over to Vicky's Country Garden, so stay tuned for that. We're going to have that coming up momentarily. I still have time for another call quickly, so give me a jingle. By the way, don't forget, too, Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636. Joel Heward, his family, and his staff, always taking the time and the effort to serve you and your family with all the arrangements when there's the passing of a loved one. And always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. I urge you to write this number down, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, serving you and your family. Okay, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What do you think about little kids running all over the restaurant and causing all kinds of a furor, coughing and sneezing and with loud, like the iPad turned up full blast and everything, and mom and dad sit there and don't do a thing? That would really put a curdle in my milk, I'll tell you that. Hey, by the way, Rogge Auction, they're going to have that big spring auction. Oh, my goodness, spring community sale at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds on April 8th. That's right around the corner. And, boy, they've got a lot of consignments coming in, farm equipment, guns, livestock equipment, loaders, you name it. They're looking for quality equipment. Please give them a call. Ron Rogge at 431-6187 and Cade Rogge at 431-0074. Or go to their website, RoggeAuction.com. Big spring community sale on April 8th, managed by Rogge Auction. Real quick, caller. I've only got 30 seconds. Real fast. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Zeb, with the kids in the restaurants, I mean, parents need to, it comes right back to the home, and like you say, responsibility for your own kids. If they can't behave themselves, then the parents need to just leave.
Absolutely.
Someone from the restaurant needs to tell them, you pack up your kids, pay your bill, and you need to leave. You know, not cool. Anyway, talk later.
Or they need to have a surcharge on their bill that says you were being obnoxious, so we're going to charge you another $25. Anyway, thank you, Riley. I appreciate it. Right now, we're going to talk to a lovely lady that I look forward to having on my program every year at this time. And right now, we talk to the lovely Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens. Good morning. How are you?
I'm just fine, Zeb. How are you doing? Long time since I've talked to you.
You know what? We didn't get together and visit or anything during the course of the winter months. What's the matter with us? We needed to just kind of rekindle the friendship.
We kind of did. Maybe it was because the roads were closed a lot.
You were probably underwater, and I was full of ice and snow over here.
That's for dang sure. That's kind of what everybody's been. But I think it's drying out, and we're ready for spring now.
Well, I am. And, you know, what about this time of the year? You know, it's kind of unsettled. You know, we had a little bit of snow here the other day, and then it got really windy. What can we do with our gardens outside right now?
Well, right now, I mean, in most areas, the dirt's dry enough to where you can kind of work the ground. You don't want to work ground when it's too wet because you'll get really heavy clods and it'll pack really bad. But if it's, you know, if it's just got some nice moisture, get the compost tilled into it, you know, get all your weeds sprayed, you know, that type of thing, get the garden ready because there are some things that can be planted right now and get going.
Okay, but like what? Because still, don't we have the worry of maybe cold temperatures and snow? I mean, what can be planted right now?
Well, peas do really well right now in the cold. Onions will go in fine. Lettuce, spinach, a lot of your, you know, like your Swiss chard, your greens and things like that. Cabbages can go in now. Brussels sprouts, you know, cauliflower. Those are all cold crops. So carrots can even kind of go in now. So there's a lot of different things that can be put in. But it's a real good time to get peas in because they do function a lot better in the cool weather. So that's just a few of the things that can go in right now. The onion bulbs. It's getting real close to time for potatoes.
Yeah.
Probably another week, 10 days should be warm enough to where you can put spuds in the ground, get them going. And, of course, you know, basically get your gardens worked up and tilled up and rowed up and ready for the rest of the crops that are going to be coming in.
What did you say with Brussels sprouts that could be planted right now? What else did you say?
Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbages, broccoli.
Ugh.
The stuff can be planted.
Okay, well, that just leads me to say this to you. As far as Brussels sprouts and broccoli and cauliflower, I don't give a rip if it freezes.
But they're really good for you, Zeb. They're one of those things that are supposed to have all kinds of good stuff in them to make you healthy and wealthy and wise.
Now, okay, I'm going to put you on the spot here, lady. You have always been blatantly honest with me on this program. Do you really like Brussels sprouts?
No.
No, okay.
I gave it a shot. My grandson made me some, and I tried them, and they're not bad, but I wouldn't run away from home to get to them.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't be at all concerned if I planted them and had a severe frost that might muck them out.
Well, you and I'd have the luck that it wouldn't freeze hard enough. It'd get everything else and leave them.
Oh, I know it. But what about the actual tilling of the ground? What about somebody, and I've asked you this in years past, Vicki, but what do people need to look for as far as a good plot as to where to put their garden?
Well, you want a spot that hasn't had a lot of weed killer on it. I mean, that's had, that's been tilled up and utilized. You don't want anything that's had a tremendous a lot of weed killer, or definitely not anything that's had any kind of a sterilant or anything on it. Usually people will take out a portion of their lawn, which basically kind of redoes the soils and that type of thing. And just make sure you get the grass and stuff out. You'll kill the grass first and then take the grass out of there. But that's a good, spot. Edge of the lawn is usually a good spot. You want to make sure it's got good sunlight. You want good drainage on it. A lot, some places got, a good fair amount of sun. Like, for instance, you want at least about 7 or so hours of sunlight on it for most all your crops to grow.
Okay. And as far as the garden is concerned, and for first-timers, once they figure out where they're going to put it, I mean, what do you suggest as far as how deep do they have to plow it or till it? I mean, give everybody a first-time garden kind of an atmosphere here.
Well, most people are using just, they're using a rototiller, which puts them down about 6 to 8 inches.
Okay.
It's nice if you can got a garden on the edge to where somebody can come in with like a small tractor and like a 2-bottom plow or something and really turn that ground. But most people are not that lucky, so just keep your tillers going down as deep as you can till you're, and go over it quite a few times to make sure that it's tilled in, especially if you're putting compost in, or if you've had a lot of grass clippings on it. You want to definitely turn those. Get those turned under and get them mixed up so you don't have big clumps of them. You want to go across it a couple of different directions to make sure that ground is nice and loose.
Okay.
And there again, like I say, you don't want to do it if it's really muddy because you'll cause yourself a lot of problems.
Okay, so is it too early? I mean, we're looking at temperatures like today. It's only going to get up into the higher 40s. Is it too early to be doing this, or is now the time to get that soil all prepared, or should they wait a while?
Well, again, now's the time to get it prepared, especially if you're in a sandy area. You're pretty safe in sandy soil to till it pretty much any time. Your heavier soils than that, you want to kind of dig down through them a little bit and see where your moisture level's at. You just don't want to start going across there and then every time you step down have it compact right back down. You want it to stay light and fluffy. Usually if you can take a good handful of dirt from down under, squeeze it nice, squeeze it into a light ball, and then if it kind of crumbles back out from you, if it'll hold until you kind of move it a little bit, if it'll do that, then you're usually ready to till it.
Okay.
If it stays in a tight, muddy, hard clod, then you don't want to till it.
So if it stays like the Democratic Party, you don't want to till it.
That's true. That's true. Good analysis, Zeb. Good analysis.
Hey, let me ask you this, what would you say to somebody like they've never planted a garden before, and they came into you and they said, we want to have a great big garden. We want to have a full acre. We're going to make a ripping big garden. Would you discourage them, or would you tell them maybe they better try it the first year to really see if they like it, or what would you tell them?
Well, if they've had experience as a kid or something like that with gardens, then it's not quite so important. But if they're really basically new gardeners, start small with a nice garden that you can get into, and it's not going to take you all day to hoe it, because there is work entailed with a garden. You don't just plant it and give it a blessing and hope it grows, because the only thing that's going to grow is the weeds.
And
so you want to be able to have somebody to have something to where you can get into it and and not take up all your time. That's the first thing that discourages people, is if they have to live in the garden right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Start with a nice garden, maybe a 10 by 10, something like that, 10 foot by 10 foot. Plant the things that you really like to eat. Have a successful one the first year. Then every year just increase it up once you kind of get a feel for what you're doing.
Okay. Now,
Start off great big and it's a failure, then you just say, to heck with it, I ain't going to grow a garden again, it's too much work.
Yeah.
Start small, build your confidence, and work your way up to a good big garden.
Now, over there at Vicky's Country Garden at 185 South, 600 West of Paul, I mean, my goodness, lady, you've been doing this for 20 years. What about being 20 years in business?
It makes you old.
No. Well, besides that,
I've learned a lot. I really have over this last 20 years, and hopefully I've learned by some of my mistakes and some other people's. But we hope to be able to be here for a while longer and be able to help people get their gardens going and all that kind of stuff.
You know, I was always going to ask you, what have you ever compiled maybe some of the goofiest things that people have asked you about gardening? Have you had some really funny stories that have hit you as far as 20 years in business over there at Vicky's Country Garden?
Oh, I could write a book. I've decided that common sense is kind of not there anymore.
Give me an example. I can't wait to hear this.
Well, I had a lady come in one day, and she was, I would say, probably in her 30s or so, and she come in and was wanting to start her a garden for the first time. She'd never gardened before, so I said, well, we'll help you. Not a problem. We can help you with all that. So we picked out a few seeds that she wanted to plant and everything, and she says, so now what do I do? And I said, well, you find a nice spot in your yard to build your garden bed, Get it tilled up and get it ready to plant. She said, I have to plant these in dirt.
Are you serious?
I just kind of looked at her and I said, well, yeah. I said, what were you thinking? She said, guess I hadn't got that far yet.
She honestly didn't know that she might have to get her prissy little hands dirty in the dirt?
Yeah. She was just totally blown out of the water that I told her to plant them in dirt.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, well, they don't grow in the air.
We ought to have one a week. You ought to think of one of these stories a week, and we'll have it on the program. Now, is it too early to be thinking about decorative-type things for their yard and cleaning up their place? Very unfortunately, a lot of people suffered a lot of damage due to the water and everything, and you've got all the bark and the decorative rock and all that over at Vicky's Country Garden, right?
Oh, yeah, we have. And this is a good time to get all your pruning done, except for forsythia bushes. Do not prune your forsythias now. Let them bloom, then prune them afterwards. But your roses need pruned now. A lot of your bushes, your grasses need trimmed down, all that kind of stuff to make your yard look better. And if you've had major damage or something, you'll know now, what's come back from the winter and what hasn't.
Okay. Now, you mentioned forsythia. And last year, I know we had quite a big conversation about names of different flowers. That's your assignment for next week. I want you to look up the derivation of forsythia and let me know what it is.
Hey, well, like I say, that's what, and now is a good time if you want color in your yard, put some pansies in, your favorite one. Pansies love this cold weather. They are just blooming, they're bright, they're cheery, they make you smile, and put some pansies in your yard. They're really pretty right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, celebrating 20 years in business, and I'll bet you, like you said, you could write a book, and hopefully she's going to be there another 20. I won't be on the air with her, but she'll be still there gardening, I'll tell you what. And, oh, by the way, too, every Monday we're going to have this on at 9:16, Gardening for Idiots, named after me. And, Vicki, we welcome phone calls, too, because a lot of people probably have questions.
Yeah, there's a lot of people coming in with questions right now. So, yeah, and if they miss the program and need to come over or give us a call, we'll sure try to answer their questions for them. Not a problem.
Okay, and by golly, there's another problem we didn't get into because it's probably not time yet, but bugs. We're going to do a lot on bugs.
bugs are starting. It's time to get your systemic down on your trees to stop the borers and that from getting into your trees. This is the time of year to get it down.
All right. Now tell everybody where you're located and what hours you're open.
We are located on the Paul Burley Highway, like I say, 185 South, 600 West. Can't miss us. We're just coming from Burley. We're just before you get to West Minico. And our hours are 9 to 5 for sure. We're going to be lengthening those out. Depends on if we're still planting or not. But if we're not right up here around the front of the building, we're out in the greenhouses. If we've got cars here, we're here. So
okay, and this lady, Vicky, at Vicky's Country Garden at 185 South, 600 West of Paul, has got a new innovative idea for gardeners. You're going to plant your seeds in the dirt.
We are. We're going to teach you how to plant your seeds in the dirt this year.
Oh, God bless you. It's good to talk to you again, my friend.
Good to talk to you too, Zeb.
All right, take care. Thanks, Vicky.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye. I love that lady. She is a lot of fun. Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. You stop in and see her today. By the way, too, I also want to say thank you to Let's Ride. Oh, just about knocked the microphone over. Small little problem here. Let's be sure and remind you about Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. And holy smokes, they got all the brand new ATVs in there and the side-by-sides and the dirt bikes. Oh, and if you have already an ATV and you need to get it serviced to head up on the trails and the hills and everything, hey, they've got a fantastic service department. All the accessories, everything is right there at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Really good people. Oh, and by the way, talking about good people, over in that neck of the woods, I want to remind you about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call, number to remember, 436-4424. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, and so much more. They really care, and they, Cameron and Siemens, are the professionals helping you. Call them for an appointment today, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance in Rupert. Really, really good folks. We got a guest coming on the air right now, and we're going to introduce him in just a moment, but I got to quickly remind you that Ag Express is looking for drivers. They're looking for you. That's right. They've got a lot of openings for drivers, and I urge you to give them a call and stop over. We've got quite a few different numbers as to where you can check it out. Ag Express with great, great positions, and you can kind of pick and choose how many days you want to work. 2 or 3 days a week, whatever works best for you. And you're home every night. They've got great vacation plans and super benefit programs. Ag Express. Dale and Paul, 438-8886, or Alan in Twin Falls at 731-2495, or Russ in Burley at 431-7175. Ag Express is looking for drivers. They're looking for you. Well, let's say good morning right now to our next guest with the Pacific Legal Foundation. He's been on my program before, Tony Francois. Good morning, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing well today. How are you doing, Zeb?
Oh, I tell you what, not too bad, except that every day on the news, you got to sit back and just wonder what the Democrats are going to be doing next. This deal with Neil Gorsuch for the Supreme Court, I'm shocked. I mean, where are you going to find a more competent, a better qualified individual than this man to get on the Supreme Court? And yet the Democrats are doing everything they can to not only elongate the process of getting him in, but try to stop it. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, Judge Gorsuch is one of the more remarkable judges currently on the federal bench. He's a Court of Appeals judge in the 10th Circuit, which is headquartered in Denver. And, having read many of his opinions and, listened to his testimony during the confirmation hearings, he's really, really a high-caliber person to be nominated to the Supreme Court. The other, I think, important thing to bear in mind as you listen to the criticisms of him from Democrats on the Judiciary Committee is that the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, he has said pretty clearly that if it's necessary to reform the Senate rules in order to ensure an up or down vote on Judge Gorsuch, he's prepared to do that. So I think what you're hearing from the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee and others who've spoken against him in the Senate is really aimed at their progressive base on ensuring that the left-wing organizations that are putting pressure on Democrats in the Senate, that they're standing up for that viewpoint, because it's completely disconnected from the reality of who Judge Gorsuch is as a writer, as a judge. So it's very heavy in mischaracterization of his opinions, of what his judicial philosophy is, and clearly not based on a substantive view of his work as a judge.
Tony, let me ask you this, and you know far more about this than I do, and the scenario leading up to the appointment of Judge Gorsuch. But wasn't it back, and I'm doing this out of memory, so bear with me, wasn't it back in about 2010 when Gorsuch was appointed as a federal judge that Chuck Schumer, Democrat, actually supported Gorsuch, and now they're doing everything they can to try to filibuster against him?
Not only Senator Schumer, but every member of the Senate. He was appointed to the Federal Court of Appeals by former President Bush. The 2 or 3 presidencies ago, so time does seem to pass. The only person present, the only senator present at his confirmation hearing, the committee hearing, was Senator Lindsey Graham. And nobody else even came to ask him questions. And then he was confirmed on the floor by a voice vote, meaning they didn't even have to call everybody's name and find out what their vote was. They just said, is anybody opposed to this guy? No? Okay, he's confirmed. So there clearly was no controversy about his appointment to the Federal Appeals Court. And while I think it is fair for his decisions as an appellate judge to be looked at as part of vetting him for the Supreme Court, I think it's also pretty disingenuous to suggest that, there's nothing really important about appellate court judges, and that, it's only really important to vet judges when they go on to the Supreme Court. So, while I think it's fair for, members of the Judiciary Committee to ask him questions about his opinions and his judicial philosophy, it is also, I think, telling that they had no problem with him when he was put on the Court of Appeal, and now they are basically inventing all of these complaints about him in order to justify opposing him.
Tony, we were listening to the news this weekend, and I was taking down notes as to what we were going to talk about in various segments. And it was brought to my attention again that we might be looking at another Supreme Court nomination coming up in June, possibly with Ruth Bader Ginsburg leaving the court, or whomever. There are about 3 that might be leaving the court over the next period of time. Holy smokes, why are the Democrats burning all their wood in this fire?
Well, I think the only reason for that is that the left-wing base is demanding it. There is an element in their approach to this that reflects the refusal to hold a hearing on last year on then President Obama's nomination of Judge Merrick Garland to this vacancy. But that alone doesn't explain just the outlandishness of some of the claims that they've made against Judge Gorsuch. So I think absent the pressure they're getting from the hard left, most of these Democrat senators I don't think would be saying the things they are or threatening to filibuster the confirmation. Now, as I mentioned before, Senator McConnell has made very clear that as Harry Reid did 4 years ago for lower federal court judges, he is prepared to reform the Senate rules so that you cannot filibuster a nomination to the Supreme Court. That would allow an up or down vote on the judge. He clearly not only has, the universal support of Republicans in the Senate. 3 Democrat senators have announced their intent to vote for him. So he's clearly got 55 or more members of the Senate in support of his nomination. And as McConnell has said, one way or another, by Friday, they will confirm him to the Supreme Court.
Is it all about show and go, Tony? I mean, is it all about the Democrats putting up kind of a fraudulent false front building like in the days of the Old West, all just to kind of stick their chest out and strut around and saying and showing how much power they have, when the end result is that he's going to become the next Supreme Court judge after all this balderdash? I mean, really, it's a waste of our time, and they could be doing something much more constructive.
Well, I do think that it is, some of it, I think, is knowing misrepresentation of what's going on. Some of the Democrats, though, that I heard question Judge Gorsuch on the Judiciary Committee or make statements, I mean, clearly are just reading off of a set of prepared comments that one of their staff has made. It's kind of embarrassing, frankly, to watch a few of them, like Al Franken from Minnesota, just reading verbatim, several sheets of paper that somebody had given him to read. He clearly didn't understand most of what he was asking about or talking about. So I think some of them may even be, being manipulated into, making these outlandish statements. But in general, it's really just to make sure that they do not draw primary challenges from the left as they run for re-election, face shortages in fundraising, and these kinds of things. So it's not about the nominee. It's about preserving their own status within the party and with the left-wing base.
And what you just said there with the appointment of Neil Gorsuch, that has a tendency in his rulings to be conservative, and then if they lose 1 or 2 more from the Supreme Court, probably and very possibly there would be more conservatism appointed to the Supreme Court. And I look at this thing as kind of the cat hanging on to the end of the rope and the knot. The Democrats are sweating bullets that the whole complexion of the Supreme Court is going to change over the next year, 5 years, 10 years, and not in their favor. And it's kind of a last hurrah for the Democratic Party. Would you agree or not?
Well, whether it's the Democratic Party or the use of the courts by progressive activist groups to, bring about things that couldn't be done through the, or they're simply not inclined to do through democratic processes. I do think there's a level of, alarm and maybe even panic that you do observe here. One thing to remember, of course, is that, Judge Gorsuch is nominated to a vacancy that exists because of the death of the late Justice Scalia. And so, I mean, it's you would almost say it's impossible for somebody replacing Justice Scalia to move the court to the right. So this nomination is really not about the balance of the court. It more or less preserves the kind of 4-1-4 balance that you have on the court. It will be when justices like Ginsburg or Breyer or perhaps even Kennedy retire or otherwise leave the court, if the current president is making the nomination or another president who has the same philosophy of judicial appointments, there will be, I can't even imagine the pandemonium that will ensue, because that would actually change the balance of the court. But I think it's important to also recognize that, this is not simply, one president appoints somebody that has this set of conclusions, whether it's on gun control or, environmental law or things like that, or, employer-employee relations, and is going to vote for the big guy or the little guy. what Judge Gorsuch reflects is simply enforcing the law as Congress writes it. And therein is the problem, I think, for a lot of the left-wing activist organizations, is they don't want the law as it's written. They would prefer a judiciary that takes an outcome-based approach to, disputes, so that whatever the law says, the environment always wins, or the employee always wins. And that is a large part of what the panic is about, is that if the courts simply enforce the law as it is, then we all return effectively to being equal citizens under the law, and the Congress becomes more accountable for the law they actually pass. Some of the most remarkable things that were said during these hearings were individual senators demanding to know why Judge Gorsuch had ruled a certain way in a case. There's one that's been spoken about quite a bit involving a trucker, and whether or not a federal whistleblower law protected that trucker from being fired. And several members of the Senate were demanding to know how Judge Gorsuch could possibly think that the law would not protect the trucker, when they are the ones who are actually responsible for what the law says.
Yeah.
So here you have the people who write the law demanding that a judge basically bail them out with their own constituency. We didn't write a law that was good enough to protect the employee in every single case, so we expect you to do that for us. This is completely backwards. And so what the senators involved, I think, are partly concerned about is, if the judges simply enforce the laws that we write, we're going to have to write better laws or face the voters. So, there is a lot at stake in this.
One final thought here, Tony. What about the Constitution itself? I want adherence to the Constitution because I consider myself to be a constitutionalist. I want them to say and do and reflect what the Constitution says. Not that it may be and considered to some a living document that can be twisted this way and that. I think the Supreme Court has got to get back to a strong adherence to what the Constitution says, not what they want it to say.
Well, I think that then you'll find that if that's your view, which many of us share, of course, then you'll find the judge you want, and Judge Gorsuch in particular, his willingness to look at what the words mean when they are adopted, rather than you use the word living Constitution. Perhaps a better term or a more descriptive one is an unstable and unknowable Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
So that, if you take this ad hoc approach to the Constitution, you don't really know what it means until after some group of judges has decided what it means. And Judge Gorsuch and those like him take the contrary view, which is that for it to be the law, we all have to know what it means and requires of us. And, A, I think by this Friday he'll be confirmed to the Supreme Court, and B, I think it's reasonable to expect as a Supreme Court justice that he will take that view of the Constitution, that it's what the words actually mean.
With the Pacific Legal Foundation, a group that I'm very, very glad to have on my program on different occasions, Tony Francois. Tony, if they want to follow more of what the Pacific Legal Foundation is doing, give us that information, would you please?
Absolutely. We are on the internet at www.pacificlegal.org, all one word, pacificlegal.org. You can learn about our cases and follow all the things that we're involved in there.
I appreciate it, sir. Have a great day and come back soon.
I will happily do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Excellent report there regarding our Supreme Court and the nomination of Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court by President Trump, and how the Democrats are doing everything they can to put a good man down. We've got to get a weather forecast in here, and the weather is brought to you this hour by our friends at Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, the best of CPAs serving you you with tax return preparation, tax planning, retirement planning, business consulting. They know and they can help you. Please remember they've got 2 locations to serve you in Burley and Rupert. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Welcome to another fine spring Monday here at Zeb at the Ranch, and here's what we're looking at as far as weather is concerned. It is going to be windy today, so ladies, put your hair up in a hat. Guys, your hat might blow off, so just make sure you keep track of it. Winds out of the west, 15 to 25 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies for today, high of 50. Tonight we are looking at a low of 26. For tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny skies, high of 53 with an overnight low of 31. And as we make our way to Wednesday, looks like partly cloudy skies, high of 65. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Great job, Gina. We appreciate it. And, of course, the weather brought to you by our friends at Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And, oh, by the way, Leiden Crane is very fluent in Spanish and can offer any of the services in Spanish. They are the best. Tax return preparation, tax planning, you name it. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Oh, my goodness sakes, we got a bunch of things. I got time for some more phone calls. And if you have a remark to make on our restaurant situation, like the one in North Carolina that's banning now children under 5 because of the noise and the running around the restaurant, and the parents are just sitting there and doing nothing. Have you had a story like that? If so, give me a call, and we'll talk about it in the time remaining. While I'm waiting for your phone call, I want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. They're located at 924 Christian Way in Rupert, and the number to call, 436-3200. You know, they're locally owned and assisted living facility in the Minicash area, the only one in the Minicash area, by the way, and they want to serve you and take care of you. They take their residents out to community events such as the Wilson Theater Productions and OVAC and, of course, all the activities on the 4th of July, and they invite the public to come by and see their facility at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. You're welcome to stop by anytime and take a tour, and they make every effort to have Autumn Haven the best place. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. Number to call, 436-3200. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a jingle on the landline. Love to visit with you. I know Deanne and I have been in restaurants, and very nice restaurants, where all of a sudden the kids are running around, they're chasing each other. There has even been occasions where the kids are throwing food at each other, and they're making loud noise, screaming, and mom and dad sit there and do nothing and just basically ignore the actions and activities of their youngsters in the restaurant. And the one that really bothered me the most, and I know Deanne can relate to this, we were sitting in a restaurant having our meal, and one little boy, about maybe 3.5, 4 years old, came walking up to our table, smiled, and then sneezed all over our table. And mom and dad were sitting about 30 feet away and did nothing. Did nothing. What are your thoughts on this? I'm glad, and I mean this, that some restaurants are taking that stand. Children 5 and under, no. And if they're 5 and over, keep them under control. Your thoughts. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a jingle. Last hour, while I'm waiting for your call, we had a little salute to my dear friend Russell Smith, and he's going to be celebrating his 93rd birthday, I believe it is, on May the 6th up at the Idaho State Veterans Home. And I had a call on my cell phone during the news, and they said, would you repeat that address again? And yes, I will. Russell Smith is staying up at the Idaho State Veterans Home at 1957 Alvin Ricken Drive, ALVINRICKEN Drive in Pocatello. He is in room 70. 833-444-1270. And the zip code up there, 83201. And his birthday's coming up on May the 6th, and I urge you to just send him all kinds of cards and letters, etc., and just let him know how much we appreciate him. He has been on my program many times in the past, and he's a dear friend and a 3-time Purple Heart recipient, and I'm really proud of that, man. And so I really would like you to help make his birthday a very special event on May 6th. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The big game tonight, Gonzaga Bulldogs against North Carolina. It's kind of like the battle of the little bitty guy and the giant. North Carolina's been there many times in the past and has had quite a few national championships to add to their trophy case. And here comes Gonzaga. I think the total school population of Gonzaga is under 8,000. I think it's about 7,600 students, and very small university, as a matter of fact, and they're going up against the Goliath. So you got David and Goliath here tonight, and the tip-off is going to be our time, about 7:20 this evening. Now, most of the so-called experts have said that North Carolina should handily win the game. Some have said that they're going to win by a small margin. I'm going to stick my neck out and say the other way. I've watched Gonzaga play many, many basketball games this season, and they've got one big boy right there in the middle that absolutely is going to be tough to move. And if he can stay out of foul trouble, he being Karnowski, the young man from Poland, I think that Gonzaga's got more than a good chance, along with their excellent three-point shooting from outside. They could beat North Carolina and become the new national collegiate champions. So there you go. That's my prediction. I'm going to say Gonzaga by 3 points tonight in a great game. So if I sound a little groggy and tired tomorrow morning, you'll know that I didn't get very much sleep. We were up watching the Gonzaga game, much the same as I was watching the Cubs lose to the Cardinals last night. Yeah, it's hard for me to take. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Next hour, at 10:06, we've got Steve Malloy with the Energy and Environmental Legal Foundation. And then at 10:30 this morning, we're going to have a guest on the air by the name of Matt Walsh, and he writes for The Blaze. And he's written a couple of great articles about, hey, this might be the last hurrah for conservative values in this country with the Trump administration. And he's going to explain how this might be the last shot in our nation's history to try to re-implement some of the conservative values that made this country great. So we're going to have him on the air at 10:30, along with your phone calls. But right now, we're going to turn it back over to Wheels at our main studio, and he's going to lead us up to CBS News coming up at the top of the hour, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes. You have a great day. Okay, here we go. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch. Good morning on a Monday. Oh, my goodness, April 3rd already. Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and we really appreciate all that they do for the community. They got a great big spring tire sale going on right now, and also some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service today, 734-6969. We're going to have our guest with us in just a moment, but stand by. I want to remind you that at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, they just announced a brand new no tax plan. What do they mean? It's a great big sale. That's right. It ends on April 30th. It's a presidential promise you can count on. No money down, no interest for 12 months on approved credit. Oh my goodness, you better not miss this sale. They've got lift recliners on sale. They've got all their recliners on sale. Living room sets, and oh my goodness, don't forget they've got a closeout on Beauty Rest mattresses. mattresses, what are you waiting for? I mean, run. Don't walk, run over to Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Very nice people. Oh, and by the way, don't forget the Women's Expo. Southern Idaho Women's Expo coming up on April 13th, and it's going to be at the Best Western Burley Inn, sponsored by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, and Idaho Housing and Finance. Hey, it starts at 9 o'clock on the 13th, and tickets are $20 in advance, and they're $30 at the door. Well, get your tickets now. Contact the Chamber office at 679-4793. That number again, 679-4793. Southern Idaho Women's Expo on April 13th. Right now, let's go to the phone line. And we have with us a senior policy fellow with the Energy and Environmental Legal Institute. He's been on my program before. And we say good morning to Steve Malloy. How are you, sir?
Good morning. It's great to be here.
You know, tell me a little bit before we get started this morning, Steve. You're the author of a book called Scare Pollution, Why and How to Fix the EPA. Tell us a little bit about your book and where it can be obtained.
Well, Scare Pollution, Why and How to Fix the EPA is my story about exposing EPA's $600 million worth of fraudulent science that was used to railroad the coal industry during the Obama administration. You know, EPA claims that outdoor air, the everyday outdoor air that we breathe, kills 600,000 Americans per year. That's about one in every 4 deaths, EPA says, is due to outdoor air. This is obviously absurd. And so my book is the story of how I actually go about, with original scientific research, investigative journalism, exposing that. And some of the material in there includes the uncovery of EPA's secret and illegal experiments on humans, including spraying diesel exhaust up the noses of 10-year-old children.
What? Is that really truthful? They sprayed what, diesel?
Yes, I documented. I have the papers that show that.
Oh my goodness! Now come on, you're talking about child abuse. You're talking about going to jail for the rest of your natural life. I mean, how in the world did they do this? What happened to these people that performed these activities?
EPA can get away with anything. See, it's EPA is above the law. Now, the good thing about who Trump has appointed to run the EPA now, Scott Pruitt, the former Attorney General from Oklahoma, his mission is to bring EPA back within the law. So hopefully that is what he will do.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the CPP, the Clean Power Act and plan. This sounds to me like an agency that for years and years, like you said and you already reiterated, has been out of control. They're going to do anything they want to do. They're kind of like the elitists going around with their nose up in the air so that if it rains, they're going to drown. I mean, these people were above reproach, but now all of a sudden somebody's bringing the hammer down on them, which I think is a good thing. Can Trump do it?
Well, he can do it. It's not going to be easy because there's this huge, well-funded green machine to oppose him, but he certainly has all the facts on his side, science and economic, legal, but you've got to be committed to doing it because the other side, as we see in all politics, the left plays for all the marbles. They play for keeps. And if you don't do it seriously, you can't do it sort of, you can't do it halfway. You've got to go all the way. Now that's going to be the test for Scott Pruitt, whether, he's really serious about, implementing the Trump agenda, which was to completely rein in the EPA. I mean, Trump during the campaign said he wanted to do away with the EPA or, at best leave just little tidbits of it.
As you look and study this, though, Steve, I mean, with the liberal left and these loon environmentalists that absolutely, they don't want humans even on the face of the earth. I wish they'd start with themselves first. This thing has got so completely out of control and so devastating. In 4 years of the Trump campaign, are they just waiting, the Trump administration, are they just waiting to re-implement and really crack down again if he loses the 2020 election?
Well, of course, that's part of their agenda. I mean, the EPA was a tremendous weapon that the left had to control the economy. And they tried to do it, global warming was a terrific way to get a grip on how energy is used and destroy the coal industry which had turned into a nemesis of Democrats because Democrats started opposing it and got taken over by the environmental movement. So the coal industry opposed that, and Obama squashed them. During the 8 years of the Obama administration, Obama wiped out 95% of the market value of the coal industry.
What do you look for, Steve, as far as through your Energy and Environmental Legal Institute? I mean, I feel, and tell me if I'm wrong, I feel that right now in this country we really have a real consideration for clean water, clean air. Our nation, I think, is the leader in having the best of environmental standards. And I feel like even now, with the Trump administration trying to back up the EPA, I think that honest, legitimate people want and will care for the environment in the future. What are your thoughts about going forward?
Well, look, of course, I agree with you. Look, it's 2017. The EPA was formed in 1970. Most of the environmental laws date from the 1970s. Okay, so during the 20th century, while we were industrializing, the air wasn't as clean as it could be, and sometimes the rivers caught on fire. But, beginning in the 1960s, we started to clean up the environment. And by, say, 1990 or so, the air was perfectly clean, and the rivers didn't catch on fire anymore. And, and 1990 is about the time I started working on environmental issues, and I've noticed that I've seen nothing but EPA overreach ever since. It's a question of how clean is clean, how much money do you want to spend to get the last bit of whatever out of the air, and frankly, it's just not worth it. Now, the environmentalists, they use these regulations as a means to control industry. And, of course, they also brainwash children. And, we have the cleanest air that we've basically ever had. But environmentalists will have most of the public believe in the air is dirty. And as we discussed earlier, EPA says that, the blue sky air that we all breathe kills 1 out of 4, or, 1 out of 4 deaths due to that blue sky air. It's crazy.
Yeah, but, Steve, let me ask you this question, and I'm right on this. We have a big problem, and it's in public education. It's at our school systems, whether it's grade school, whether it's high school, or the college and university system, with a education system that is condemning and damning anything that mankind needs for access to better, more efficient energy, whatever. How are we going to change their mindset?
Well, that's a great point, and I got to say that it's not just public education, it's not just government schools. It's private schools, too. This is just a mindset across education. How are we going to change that? Well, that's a great question. One way is we've got to change the curriculums in school. Right now, for example, when you get to the science, the environment is taught as a science. Of course, nothing could be further from the truth, and they don't really, when it comes to science, they don't teach kids how to think anymore. They just, propagandize them. It's learning by received wisdom, and that's okay in a religious class, but it's not okay in science. And so parents and we have to get involved in what's going on in our schools. The left, they have people working 40 hours a week to change the curriculum to the way they see it, while the rest of us are, busy earning, being productive in the economy. The left is spending their full-time job is to, implement their agenda, and we're going to have to figure out a way to fight that. It's very difficult.
Let me ask you this, and I just was thinking about this scenario while you were talking, Steve. Would it be possible, or would it work, to have companies like Exxon and other companies involved in the energy field start making inroads, if possible, to the local schools for maybe some kind of a super study program so that students could get involved and learn the real truth about exploration of energy or fracking or whatever the case might be, sponsored by with scholarships for these students to maybe change the mindset? Is it possible?
Well, it might very well be a good idea, and certainly, I would like to see, well, if environmentalists can be in the school curriculum, well, so should, companies that are, producing the goods and services that our society relies on. However, that's going to be very difficult right now, it's simply because the left controls the school system.
Yeah.
And, when you get to education, Republicans think that it's all about, the only issue in education is charter schools. And what I'm trying to say is that, the whole curriculum, whether you go to charter school, public school, whatever, it's been perverted. So, along with what you said, we need to get the curriculum changed, and we need to have more voices and from a broader sector of society, and that's just not happening right now. So I would be in favor of what you say, having companies come in and sponsor curriculum, and you can have another side of it if you want, but we've got to get the other side in there, and we're not.
One of the big worries that I have that's going to go against the Republicans and the Trump administration and, quite frankly, common sense are people that have money to burn like Tom Steyer's and others. And how are we ever going to overcome their involvement with millions and millions and millions of dollars that are tainted against conservative values?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Tom Steyer takes his, whatever money he wants from his multi-billion-dollar fortune, and it's been hundreds of millions of dollars, puts them into politics to achieve his political ends. Meanwhile, you take someone like, a rich oil man, T. Boone Pickens. What does he do with his money? He builds athletic facilities at the, at the University of Oklahoma or wherever.
Right.
And I'm sorry, that's just not what we need right now.
When you look at the overall state of energy, and you've written books about the EPA and how dastardly some of their deeds were, are you optimistic from this point on with the Trump administration on a scale of 1 to 10? What do you think you're looking at in your crystal ball over the next 4 or 5 years?
Well, the happiest moment in recent memory was when Trump won, because what that showed me was that it's possible to change. And now just the mere election of Trump, of course, doesn't bring about change. We all have to work. We can see how difficult it is for the president to operate in this environment. So we all have to work hard. And, if we work as hard as the left does, I think we'll prevail, because unlike the left, we have facts on our side. We have science and economics and the law on our side. They don't. But we've got to work hard to make sure that those three prevail.
I've got to go back to what you said earlier, and I want you to elaborate on it a little bit. This almost sounds like Nazi Germany. What were they doing to the youngsters about the diesel fumes? Tell me that again.
Well, so EPA, the reason EPA was doing these experiments, and they were experimenting on young kids as young as 10 years old and elderly people as old as 80. They were experimenting on people with heart disease and diabetes and asthmatics, and they basically put them in a chamber where they exposed them to extremely high levels of air pollution, trying to make something bad happen to them. And the reason they were doing this is because the only quote-unquote scientific evidence EPA has to try to link air pollution with death is some weak statistics, some goofy statistics. So they needed to add some biological or medical plausibility to their statistics, so they tried to put people in these gas chambers and expose them to very high levels of pollutant, trying to cause something bad to happen. And so this, EPA has its own gas chamber at the University of North Carolina School of Medicine. But these experiments were conducted all around the country at the University of Southern California and UCLA. That's where the experiments with the 10-year-old kids were done. And they weren't placed in a gas chamber. What EPA just basically took a spray bottle with diesel exhaust, and sprayed it up their nose.
What parent?
There have been these experiments at the University of Michigan, Rutgers, other University of Washington.
Yeah.
And, it's been sort of on the down low. EPA, of course, doesn't want to advertise that it's doing this. EPA says that, air pollution is one of the most deadly substances known to man, according to EPA. And so, of course, they don't want to tell people they're exposing them to this deadly substance. So they lie to the public, they lie to the human guinea pigs, and it's all documented. I mean, the National Academy of Sciences just came out with a report, that was initiated by my work, and that they agreed with me. So we're going to have to see where this goes.
I got to ask you this, and I don't mean to elongate this subject, but my goodness, what kind of a parent, put that word in parentheses, what kind of a parent would allow somebody to do this to their child in the name of a test? I mean, a 10-year-old.
Well, see, the assumption you're making there is that it's a parent.
Yeah.
It might just be a guardian who's doing it for the money, because the guardians of these kids got paid.
I'm just taken aback by this.
Talking about it, the identity of the kids has remained a secret, so we don't really know who it is. But it could very well be guardians. But that said, well, here's the rub on the whole human testing issue. EPA tells its human guinea pigs that these experiments are entirely harmless. Okay. Meanwhile, they tell the public and Congress that air pollution kills. So that's the fundamental paradox. And the reason I got on the human experiments was, well, if air pollution is as dangerous as EPA says, then it can't conduct these experiments.
Well, let me ask you the obvious dumb question here, Steve. The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, operating under, and I'm going to use this term and you can correct me, operating under assumed powers. They were never given all the power that they have dictated to the American public. Why don't our senators and congressmen...
Congress laid out EPA's authority in the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, several other environmental laws. The EPA has systematically expanded its power. One way, which President Trump is just trying to rein in, is EPA's control over so-called wetlands. And during the Obama administration, EPA promulgated a rule called Waters of the United States, which basically, under the guise of being able to regulate navigable waters, EPA on its own extended its jurisdiction to virtually every square inch of America. EPA extended its jurisdiction so that instead of what normal people would think of as a navigable water, EPA can regulate, say, a mud puddle or a seasonal drainage ditch.
Right. And so it really wasn't facetious on our program when we were talking about Andy Johnson over in Wyoming that had to fight the EPA because of a farm pond that he had dug. And I made the analogy that if a little boy dug a little pond in his dad's orchard, filled it full of water, really with the over-governing of the EPA, they could come down on that family for that little pond for the sailboat, couldn't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and EPA has done that, on a somewhat larger scale, but basically the same thing. EPA has bootstrapped itself into all sorts of extra-legal regulatory ability that, until Trump came along, was not effectively challenged.
Well, I certainly appreciate your staying on top of this, and I'm still going to have to think about the diesel fumes for 10 years old. That's going to last for me for a long time. Steve Malloy, senior
story is in scare pollution.
Absolutely. Where can they get the book, by the way? Tell us that.
Oh, yeah. So the best place to get it is Amazon.com.
All right, Amazon.com, and Steve Malloy, the author of Scare Pollution, Why and How to Fix the EPA. Thank you for being on the program, and I'll be calling you.
Anytime.
Have you back. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Can you imagine subjecting 10-year-old children to a test on diesel fumes, and whoever their parent and or guardian / idiot was that would go ahead and sign for that? What's going on in this world anyway? This is lunacy. Oh, my goodness. Hey, listen, on Thursdays, we have a special segment, excuse me for the loss of my throat this morning. It's springtime, and I always get the hay fever and everything. Well, we have a segment on Thursdays called Cassia County School Days, and we certainly want to say thank you to Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue, Suite E in Burley. My goodness sakes, for your outpatient surgeries. Listen to this: colonoscopies and glaucoma surgery, and hand surgeries, foot and knee surgeries, and believe me, they can save you money. All you have to do is just get a hold of them today, 677-8888. That's the number to call, Ambulatory Surgery Center in Burley. And also our thanks go out to A Child's World. Oh, my goodness sakes, they are really having a lot of the spring clothing coming in right now, so get ready if you're not already for spring. Think spring and summer and all the clothing right there at A Child's World. And don't forget, too, they've got all the scrubs and the shoes, and they've got the Cherokee scrubs is the name I was looking for, and they welcome you. They got the games and the puzzles and everything for the family right there at 1308 Overland in Burley, A Child's World, with our friends at Ambulatory Surgery Center, bringing you on Thursdays Cassia County School Days. Don't forget that. We are going to send it back over to Wheels in just a moment, but we've got one other little message I want to get out here. Easter is around the corner, and I love Easter and everything that goes on at my church, and I certainly hope you celebrate it for the right reason. And we're telling you also that there are some really nice people that are celebrating Easter right here in our area. And as soon as I can find the paper to tell you all about those nice people, we will do so. But right now I can't find it. I've been going through my pile of paper here. Deanne, I lost all the goodies. I can't find what I'm looking for. We'll have to do that in a few minutes. Wheels, are you having a good day or a bad day over there? I'm having a bad day. I couldn't find my copy. I did now. What's going on over there?
I'm having an okay day.
An okay day.
If that makes sense. All my ducks are lined in a row, kind of like yours, but it just takes me a minute to make sure that I have everything.
My ducks have not been lined in a row this morning. I'm way behind. I finally found the sheet I was looking for, Wheels. Thanks for letting me kill about 17 seconds in time. I'll be right back with you. Hey, Easter around the corner, and we want to say thank you to the Book Plaza at 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Colonel Dale and the Book Plaza. Wonderful people. They've got all the precious moments figurines and your books and your special gifts for all your Easter baskets. And don't forget, they got a wonderful children's department, and I'll just tell you, you better get in there and just shop. Look around at all the books and all the other items at the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley, along with the Goodie Shop at 133 West Main Street in Burley. Oh my goodness, they can make up fantastic Easter baskets, all the cookies and all the brownies and all the fruit and everything. Oh, they just do a wonderful job. They can do a man's basket, and they do kitty baskets. They can do it all for you at Easter. The Goodie Shop at 133 West Main in Burley, 647-0106. And last but not least, let's not forget Perkins Restaurant. Hello, Perkins at 800 North Overland in Burley. They've got strawberry pie. I love strawberry pie. And they've got all kinds of great bakery items over there, fruit and cream pies and cookies and muffins. Buy 3 muffins, get 3 muffins free. Yeah, and they're going to have Easter dinner over there, too. Ham or turkey with all the trimmings at Perkins Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley. Wow, I finally found what I was looking for. Now we're going to send it back over to our main studios. Wheels is going to take it for about 3 minutes. I'll be back. You stay tuned.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. And don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Don't forget, call Ramsey's today at 678-0459 and learn all about Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. I've got a feeling I'm going to enjoy this next segment because I think he and I are on the same page, and we say good morning to a writer for The Blaze, Mr. Matt Walsh. Good morning, Matt. How are you?
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you on the program. First of all, give us a little background of what The Blaze is, in case people aren't aware of it. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you write for.
The Blaze is a website, well, really a multimedia platform. It's got TV and radio also. It's founded originally by Glenn Beck, and now it's a website that covers a range of issues and mainly reports news, but I write opinion columns for them.
You, in the cheat sheet that it was sent to me, you had this statement that you are demanding that conservative voters make a last stand and fight for the moral center of America. And boy, I could not agree with you more. I think that right now, with the Republicans in charge of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, this could be the very last time that we can see a fight for a conservative value system in America. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's how this was kind of sold to us. during the campaign, and of course, many people many conservatives weren't big Trump fans, but we were told that listen, this is our last chance, maybe our last chance to get in there and make some serious changes, policy-wise, legislation-wise, and I think that's true, and we may only have 2 years because we don't know what's going to happen during the midterms, and if the Democrats get in there and control Congress, then I doubt that Trump's going to be able to pass through any kind of conservative agenda at that point. So we're just going to be in stalemate. So we got to look at this not as 4 years, but for all intents and purposes, we're looking at 2 years to make some serious changes. And we're not going to win the culture war during that time. We're not going to see a utopian-like transformation in the culture. But there are some specific issues and areas where we can improve things considerably.
I agree.
Particularly on the 3 issues that I outline in my book of life, marriage, and gender. And so we've got to move forward. Now's the time.
You know, Matt, I don't mean to simplify the problem, but where in the world and how in the world did we go so far left in the gutters so fast? What happened to parental responsibility? What happened to speaking up about right and wrong? What happened about drawing a line in the sand that this is white, this is black, there is no gray in between? Where did we let all this garbage take over this country?
Well, I would say that it was not as fast as it seems, or as we kind of look at it, because we look at it and we feel like our heads are spinning, especially now because this descent into insanity seems to be picking up the pace. But it began. Look, it didn't begin with I'm a millennial. I'm 30 years old. So I didn't begin with my generation, although we take a lot of the grief, deservedly so. But it didn't begin with us. I would say it didn't even begin with my parents' generation. This is something that's happened over the course of generations. It's a breakdown that's occurred over the course of generations. And now what we're finally seeing is, a generation coming into age, my generation, that was not raised with any kind of faith, not raised with an understanding of objective and moral truth. And it's the first time we've probably had a generation. It certainly is the first time we've had a generation like that in this country. And so that's why we're seeing these things kind of rapidly deteriorate.
You know, Matt, you said you're a millennial, 30 years of age, and by the way, I say kudos to you for having your head on straight. A couple of weeks ago, I had a gentleman from San Diego, California, that was a millennial talk show host that absolutely blamed me and my generation for everything that his generation doesn't have. You promised us this, you promised us that. Instead of getting up off their dead butts and going to work for it, they wanted everything handed to them. You don't sound like you want that. You sound like you want to have responsibility, and you sound like you want to really take the bull by the horns and try to make this country a better place.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I've never wanted anything handed to me. A lot of that goes, although I think the baby boomers did fall down on the job in terms of parenting. I think it's pretty clear. But I'm an exception. My parents were great, and so I give credit to them. I wasn't raised expecting to get anything. I was told when I was 13 I had to go out and get a job, which these days is seen as child labor, neglect, or abuse. But so I've been working since I was 13 years old, and told, if you want this, you got to buy yourself. You have to earn it, and it doesn't matter. Yes, my generation does have some legitimate gripes about the way previous generations carried on with things, and the fact that we live in a bankrupted country. We didn't do that. We inherited that. But so what? We're here now, and we're the ones sort of coming into power. Now we just have to take charge, and nothing can be gained from sitting around and complaining about it and saying, "Oh, woe is me." Many of us are. If you're around my age, born around the same time I was, you're 30 years old now. It's time to move on from complaining about your parents and about this and that. We're 30 years old now. We should be well into adulthood at this point. We should be established already, and it's really sad that I look around at many people in my generation and they haven't even gotten to square one yet.
Okay,
they haven't even begun the journey of adulthood. And it's just a sad and pitiful thing, and the blame is on them, 100%.
Okay, Matt, you've got like I said, you've got common sense, you've got your head screwed on straight, you know what you want to attain in your life, you've got goals that you're going to use the talent that God gave you. That's great. I'm proud to have you on this program. But when I listen to these other millennials, and I'm not saying all of them by any means, because I've had some great young men and women on my program that I have a lot of respect for. But when I listen to these people say, well, I want this, you give me this, I don't want to work for it, I want to sit on a street corner, and I don't want to listen to a conservative speaker, and if I have him come on my campus, I'm going to start a fire and I'm going to destroy. What is the matter with these kids? They got to grow up sometime, but some of them, I don't think they're ever going to see adulthood.
Well, I think what we have to realize is that many people in my generation have never been exposed to the truth, and they've developed a worldview that is entirely wrong. It's grounded entirely in falsehood. So think about, and I'm not making excuses for them whatsoever, don't get me wrong, but think about having to encounter the possibility that you're wrong about literally everything you think, and that's what a lot of these protests across campuses trying to shut down conservative speakers, what it really comes down to is a fear, where a lot of these people are coming up against the possibility that they're wrong about everything they ever thought, and they have to restructure their entire worldview and philosophy of life. That's a scary thing, and many people are not willing to do that, and so they lash out and they just say, shut up, I don't want to hear it. I want to live in my fantasy world. And that's what it is. Many people in my generation are living in a fantasy world that is increasingly disconnected from any notion or semblance of reality. And all they can do to protect it is just shut down anyone who speaks the truth. Because if they allow that into their heads, then everything begins to fall apart, and they become very afraid, and so they lash out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Matt, let me ask you this part of the equation then. What about education? It has turned so liberal, and it's brought in so many anti-family views and values into the education system that carry on right into the college and university system. What about cleaning up education and developing, again, some values? It seems like it's totally destitute of anything for conservative values today.
Yeah, and education has to be, what is an education anyway? Education, we're supposed to introduce someone to the truth and raise them in it, orient them according to the truth. And we've removed objective truth from education, which means we've essentially removed education from education. I believe, it's not a popular opinion, but my opinion is that the public school system is irretrievably broken. And so the best thing we could, I have young kids. My kids are, I have 3 kids, all under the age of 4. And so these are decisions my wife and I are now making. And I'm saying to myself, there's no way. I know it's not easy to look at other options, but there's no way I can send my kids in. I'm not interested in trying to fix the public school system with my kids. That's not their job. It's not my job. My job is them, is to take care of them, not to take care of the public school system. Frankly, I don't know if it sounds selfish. I don't care about the system. I care about my kids.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to send them into it. I'm not going to send them into a place where there's so many problems. Where, for instance, they're going to learn that there is no such thing as male and female, and you can be whatever you want. I'm not sending them into that environment. That's madness. I'm not sending them into it. And I think that's the parents that are around my age. That's the decision we have to make. Do we want to even try to retrieve the system from the brink, or do we go and look at other options?
I'm going to be very simplified here when I make this statement, Matt, but in my own opinion, you can feel free to challenge me or correct me if you wish, but in my own opinion, the reason we're at this point in history and with all the problems is that we've got away from God. How would you respond to that?
Well, of course, yeah, that's absolutely the case. And if you go back all the way to the fall of man, that's really where all of our problems begin in the Garden of Eden, and they haven't stopped, and they won't stop until the end of time. when we separate ourselves from God, we create this enormous void in our lives, in our culture, and then what are we going to fill that void in with? And what people inevitably do is they fill themselves into the void. They make themselves God, and they say that now everything, I have my own rules, my own laws, and everything is relative to my whims and my desires. And then we end up in just this chaotic, contradictory culture that we're in now, where everybody is their own kind of little god walking around, making their own rules and their own laws and their own realities. And this is what happens when you either fall down and submit yourself to the will of God, or you try to live by your own will and by your own whims.
Right.
You can't have it both ways.
Matt, let me ask you this question, and it's not really a question as much as it is a statement because of my own personal feelings. I feel that those as church leaders, whether they are the ministers or the heads of the church, etc., they have really failed by not being tough enough and not standing up and being counted, and have wilted like flowers in a window someplace because of the pressure to not be openly good Christians and really promote their values. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's no way of getting around that, and that's a sad thing. And there are exceptions to every rule, so we can't pretend that there are obviously good pastors out there, good churches. But by and large, the churches in America have abdicated their duties, have abandoned ship, essentially, thrown up the white flag, and said, I'm not even going to engage on these issues. And I know that for me, having gone to church for 30 years, I could probably count on one hand the number of times I have from the pulpit heard a message that deals directly with some of these really deep and disturbing and profound problems we face as a culture, whether it's abortion, issues with marriage, life, gender, all these things where people are confused, and even Christians are confused, and they don't know which way to turn. They don't know which way is up. And they go to church hoping to be told, this way is up, look up, there's God, here's the truth. And they don't hear it. And the people that are supposed to be the shepherds need to be held to account for that, because it is absolutely partially on them.
But what do we do? And I know this is a simplistic question to you, Matt, but how do we change this around? I mean, do we all go to our church leadership and demand that there are sermons on these various topics, demand that they stand up and be counted on these issues? I mean, what do we do?
I think all of the above. We should absolutely be pressuring the churches to engage with the culture, to engage on these issues, to clarify, because that's what it comes down to. Many Christians are just confused; they don't know what they're supposed to believe, and that's why the church is supposed to be there to tell them. And so we need to demand that. I think there are many churches that should just be abandoned and torn down. Just should be abandoned buildings at this point. And so we should be doing. We need to look at: am I hearing any truth in my church whatsoever? Or has my church been completely succumbed to Satan, essentially? I mean, there are churches out there where they send their pastors out to perform blessings at abortion clinics. That's the kind of, and I think they should be sending pastors out to perform exorcisms at abortion clinics, but not blessings. And that's the kind of thing that's happening in some of these churches. Those churches are done. They just need to be abandoned, and if you love Christ, you need to not be in one of those churches. But then beyond that, the best change that we can make is, and this is a simplistic change, but it has to start simple. We need to make the changes in our own families.
Absolutely.
With our own children.
Absolutely.
We have to raise our children in the truth.
Absolutely.
And this is a generational game, and maybe over the course of generations, we can start to see a change, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Boy, it's refreshing to have someone like you on the program. Now, tell us a little bit about your book, The Unholy Trinity. Where can they get it, and how? Please explain that.
Yeah, The Unholy Trinity, you can find it at, you probably find it at Barnes & Noble. Most of the books are set. You just go on Amazon. And I hope with this book to kind of unify and galvanize conservatives and Christians around what I think are the three crucial cultural battlefields of life, marriage, and gender. Defending and protecting the truth in these areas, because that's where the primary assault is taking place. And so I hope people go out and buy it and are motivated through it.
Well, I'm certainly going to look for it myself today when I go to town, and I thank you, Matt Walsh of The Blaze, with his book called The Unholy Trinity. Thank you for taking the time, and by the way, God bless you for your attitude and your values. I appreciate it, Matt. Thank you very much.
You as well. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. There is a millennial to be proud of, like the millennials I had on my program last week. I mean, there's a lot of great young people out there. A lot of great young people of the millennial generation. And you heard his words. I mean, he's got his mind and his goals and his vision for the future and his family. He really is looking down the right path. And he's not asking for anything. He's wanting to go out and earn it and do it himself. But he's absolutely sickened by the way the liberal left in this country has poisoned the younger generation. We got to get a weather forecast on here right now, and the weather's brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Hello, Don Scarrow. How are you? At 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to their website, scarrowmeats.com. Oh, it is good. And, you know, you got to try that breakfast bacon. They've got a new bacon called the buckboard bacon. It's a little bit leaner and more economical than traditional bacon, and it comes in a lot of different great flavors. And all their breakfast sausages and bratwurst. Oh, I could go on and on. Delicious meats at Scarrows Meats. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Welcome to another fine spring Monday here at Zeb at the Ranch, and here's what we're looking at as far as weather is concerned. It is going to be windy today, so ladies, put your hair up in a hat. Guys, your hat might blow off, so just make sure you keep track of it. Winds out of the west, 15 to 25 miles an hour. Partly cloudy skies for today, high of 50. Tonight we are looking at a low of 26. For tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny skies, high of 53 with an overnight low of 31. And as we make our way to Wednesday, looks like partly cloudy skies, high of 65. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Maybe it's going to get a little better towards the middle of the week and into the week's end. But, oh, man, that wind was raw, and it's going to be another windy day today. Hold on to your hat. Hey, don't forget our friends at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. That number to call. Delicious meats at 324-7657. Scarrows Meats over in Jerome. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Delicious. All right, I got some time. Give me a call quickly. I'd like to hear from you. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And we'll talk about anything you want to talk about for the remainder of this hour. I do want to say this, however. Tomorrow we are planning, and I underline the word planning, on having Senator Mike Crapo on the air at about 9:45 tomorrow. That's when he's scheduled to come on the program tomorrow. Other guests include, we're going to have Fred Snook from the Great Big Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale, and at 9:06, Frosty Woolridge. I know Frosty's got a lot to talk about, what's going on with illegal aliens and the immigration mess. And Bill Bullard's going to be on tomorrow morning from up in Montana, talking about RCAF USA. And then, like I said, Mike Crapo is going to be on the air. And then we've got a gentleman coming on the program tomorrow that has been here many times in the past from the Cornwall Alliance back east, and his name is E. Calvin Beisner. And I think you're really going to enjoy hearing him again. He's got some really good thoughts on conservatism, family values, and that type of thing. So we've got a full program tomorrow on Zeb at the Ranch. Like I said, I got time for one more call. Give me a jingle while I'll tell you about our friends, our major corporate sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, boy. Big tire sale, spring tire sale. And your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers always do the right thing because it matters. Absolutely. They've got all your tires, many of which are on sale right now for your spring and summer driving, and they've got the best in brake service. You know that. I mean, my goodness sakes, they really want you to be careful and drive safely out there. And front end alignment, shocks and struts, and the very best of batteries. All you have to do is just stop in. And they come at a high lope out the door and say, "May we help you?" And then They will. All you have to do is stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. They're the best. They really care. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zeb.
Hello, Jerry.
Boy, am I proud of you.
What'd I do?
You asked people to send my friend, Russell Smith, birthday cards.
Well, I'm very glad to do it. He's a dear, dear friend.
And I've got a birthday card that I've had since January, already addressed, waiting for May the 5th to come up.
Well, I tell you what, I certainly hope that Russell Smith has the biggest and best birthday ever. I know he tries to tune in and listen quite a bit on ZebBell.com, and God love him, he's a good friend of the show.
Well, he has always been a very patriotic, wonderful person. And you know, there's another one we need to be considering, too, for birthdays. And I can't remember off the top of my head when it is. But it's that dang young kid, George Faulkner.
Oh, yes. Well, I tell you what.
Heard of him?
Yes, I have. And when you find out when his birthday is, you call me and let me know. Would you do that?
Well, all I've got to do is go through my calendar and I'll find it.
All right, Jerry.
That young kid's been friends for about ever.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I got to run right now, but God bless you for your call, and we'll keep hyping that, sending cards to Russell.
And you quit using that word run. Neither you, neither one can do it.
Okay.
I roll along and you hobble along.
We'll get there. Hobbling and rolling. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it.
Too bad. Have a great day.
All right. Nice man right there. We're going to take a little break right now from the activity until tomorrow morning at 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch. And we urge you and your family to have a great day. Put your Stampede strings on your hat. It's going to get windy out there. And we'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06 and ride the horse for 3 hours right here on Zeb at the Ranch. And don't forget KBAR 1230 AM and then streaming live on the internet, ZebBell.com. The way things were are the way things ought to be. We'll see you tomorrow morning.